All right, welcome back. Today we are diving deep into a really cool, kind of legendary Wall Street strategy. It sounds super complicated, but stick with me because when you break it down, it's absolutely fascinating. We're talking about delta hedging. Okay, so let's set the scene. I want you to imagine you're a huge Wall Street firm, right? You're managing millions, maybe billions in options. Now, what's your biggest nightmare? It's not just being a little bit wrong. It's the market just going completely haywire, making a massive, unpredictable swing in one direction. So how do you even begin to protect yourself from that? How can you trade at that scale but take the simple up or down bet completely off the table? Well, that is the exact puzzle that delta hedging was built to solve.
You know, at its core, the number one problem for any big options trader is what we call directional risk. It's just the raw, fundamental chaos of the market. It's the kind of thing that can completely obliterate a brilliant strategy in, like, minutes. So, okay, how do you fight that kind of chaos? Well, the answer is this surprisingly elegant concept. You become delta neutral. It's all about creating this perfect state of balance, this little bubble where small price moves just don't affect you.
Now, to really get the hedge, we gotta first get delta itself. Just think of delta as the main way we measure an option's directional risk. Super simple. For example, if an option has a delta of, say, 0.6, it just means that for every $1 move up in the stock, the option's price should go up by 60 cents. That's it. It's that direct link.
And here's the absolute key to the whole thing. Calls and puts are polar opposites. Call options, they have a positive delta, so they move right along with the stock. Puts, on the other hand, have a negative delta. They move against the stock. And this perfect opposing relationship, that's the magic ingredient that makes the entire hedge possible.
So, what's the goal? The whole point of this exercise is to get your entire portfolio to a delta neutral state. That means the grand total of all your deltas adds up to 0. And when you hit that magic number, you're neutral. Small little up and down price swings don't change the value of your holdings one bit. You've basically built a shield against the market's everyday jitters.
Okay, so how do they actually do it? It's pretty clever, actually. You use the stock itself to build an equal and opposite force. So let's say you're long call contracts that control 100 shares, and its delta is positive 0.6. That's a total delta of plus 60. To cancel it out, you simply sell 60 shares of the stock. Boom! Your positive 60 and the stock's negative 60 balance out to 0. Or what if you have a put option with a delta of minus 40? Easy. You just buy 40 shares of the stock. And just like that, you're delta neutral.
But, and this is where it gets really, really interesting, as soon as you solve for that big, obvious risk, direction, something else happens. It's like you've peeled back a layer, only to find a whole new set of hidden, more subtle risks underneath. Suddenly, that perfect hedge, well, it's not so perfect anymore.
So how do traders even see these hidden risks? They use a special toolkit called the Greeks. And honestly, the best way to think about them is like the dashboard of your car. Delta, that's your speedometer, telling you how fast you're going and in what direction. But these other Greeks, they're all the other warning lights. The check engine light, the oil pressure light, all the little blinking signals telling you something else might be about to go wrong. All right, so our first warning light is called gamma. Now, gamma is tricky. It doesn't measure the change in the stock's price. No, it measures the rate of change of your delta. Let me say that again. It's how fast your delta is changing. In other words, gamma tells you just how quickly your perfectly balanced, beautiful hedge is going to fall apart if the market decides to make a big move.
And that is the real danger of gamma. If you have high gamma, it means your delta is super sensitive. It can just swing wildly. So yeah, you might be perfectly hedged for a tiny $1 move, but what about a $5 move or a $10 one? That could throw your whole position completely out of whack, meaning you have to scramble to readjust your hedge. It's basically the risk of sudden, violent instability.
Okay, our next warning light is Vega. And Vega is a totally different beast. It has absolutely nothing to do with which way the price is going. Nope. Vega is all about market sentiment. It measures how sensitive your option is to changes in implied volatility, which is basically Wall Street's fear gauge. And here's the kicker. Your perfect delta hedge gives you exactly zero protection if the market suddenly panics.
So this all leads us to the next big problem, right? The constant struggle of actually maintaining this hedge out in the real world, which, is where clean, beautiful theory smacks right into messy reality.
See, here's the thing. All the financial models that this stuff is built on, like the super famous Black-Scholes model, they all exist in this perfect academic dream world. A world of frictionless markets. That means you can trade instantly with zero costs, as often as you want. Sounds nice, right?
Yeah, well, we don't live in that world. Not even close. In reality, every single time a trader has to rebalance their hedge, every time they have to buy or sell shares to get back to that perfect delta-neutral state, it costs money. Real money. They're paying commissions. They're losing a tiny bit on the bid-ask spread. And sometimes, the price even moves against them while the trade is happening. And let me tell you, these little costs, they add up incredibly fast.
And this creates what's known as the hedger's dilemma. It's a classic catch-22. If you rebalance all the time, trying to keep your risk at absolute zero, your transaction costs are going to go through the roof. But if you try to save money by rebalancing less often, your risk exposure just balloons out of control. So the real game, the real challenge, is finding that sweet spot, that optimal but always imperfect balance right in the middle.
So you might be sitting there thinking, wow, this sounds incredibly complicated and expensive. Why would anyone even bother? And that's a great question. The answer is because for the pros, this was never just about playing defense. It's about setting up an incredibly powerful offense. This is the big strategic pivot. By using the hedge to effectively switch off all that unpredictable noise of day-to-day price moves, traders can then isolate their positions. It lets them focus on making money from market factors that are way more predictable. And what's the number one most predictable factor? It's another Greek called theta. Theta is simply time decay. It's the little bit of value an option loses every single day just because the clock is ticking and it's getting closer to expiring. It really is like a melting ice cube. And here's the beautiful part. Unlike the stock market, time only ever moves in one direction. And this is the end game. This is the big aha moment. For market makers, for the big institutions selling these options, delta hedging is the machine that lets them turn that steady, relentless, predictable time decay into a consistent paycheck. They sell an option, they hedge away all the crazy directional risk, and then they just sit back and collect the premium as that clock ticks down. It's brilliant. And this, at the end of the day, is why this is really a pro's game. I mean, let's be real. It demands constant, incredibly complex calculations. You need a ton of capital, not just to buy the options, but to trade massive blocks of stock just to keep the hedge in place. And on top of all that, you need the sophisticated, high-speed computer systems to even make it all possible in real time. So, that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. After everything we've talked about, is delta hedging really a tool for reducing risk, or is it something else entirely? Is it more like a sophisticated machine that doesn't actually eliminate risk, but instead transforms it, trading the wild, chaotic risk of market direction for a whole different set of risks, ones that are much more manageable and for the pros, much more profitable? What do you think?